Welcome to Wining and Dining in the Napa Valley. I'm Pierce Carson, food and wine editor at the Napa Valley Register. And today we're going to learn something totally new. We're going to learn about rosé wines. We're going to meet a, well, I can say relatively new winemaker in the business, can't I? And learn something about why you have passion for rosé. I mean, that must be...
Yeah, right from the beginning.
How did you... Oh, and you forgot, you are David James.
Yes.
Sorry.
Yep.
Well, how did you get started in wine? What's the deal?
Well, I was halfway through college. I'm 24 years old right now, so I am definitely new to the wine scene.
Yeah.
But halfway through college, I still didn't really have a direction, not a declared major or anything. Yeah. And my parents, during that year, they went to a breast cancer gala, which is where they first met. So it was kind of like a reunion for them to go back to this breast cancer gala. Mm-hmm. And they bid on this trip to go to Italy, and they won the bid. And it was a package trip to go over to Abruzzo, Italy. Mm-hmm. And yeah, I'm halfway through college at this point, so I'm 19 years old, no direction, and go on this one winery tour with them. They drag me along because I'm just over there drinking cheap gin, like, you know, just like any other 19-year-old would.
Yeah, right.
I had no desire to really go on wine tasting. That was like an old person's thing.
Yeah.
But they dragged me along, like last day. They were like, David, you should really come along to this. Like, I think you would enjoy it. So I was like, all right, like, cool, let's check it out. And we pull around the corner, and it's in between these like 3 mountains, and beautiful, beautiful. And this guy just comes up on his motorcycle, like BMW off-road motorcycle, like gets in front of the van and gets out, and he's like, pulls off his helmet, and it's like Rico Suave. And he's just like, welcome to my vineyards. And I'm just like, what the heck is this? This is like a scene out of a movie or something.
Yeah, right.
Totally cliche, but awesome. So yeah, he gave us a tour of his estate, which was this old rock pile vineyard, and you know they all said like you can't plant a vineyard there, and he totally defied the odds. And you know, first year as a winemaker, he submitted it, and he got a really high ranking and won an Italian wine tasting. Mm-hmm. So quickly was put on the map as like a rock star winemaker to look out for. So he had the whole thing down, beautiful house, all made of rock. Brand new, state-of-the-art winery, and then like he had a whole crew that was working in the vineyard, and he was like chatting with all of them and totally dialed in with the earth and knowing what's going on with the vines and how the soil works, and you know, just super dialed in. So I really took a liking to that kind of that lifestyle that he seemed to have, and
Sure.
You know, working in the dirt and then bringing it into the winery, and it's all very chemistry based and you know, very mathematical, and I really like the physics of it, and they look like giant Lego pieces in the winery to me, like, and I've always been that kid like building things. And then taking it up into the wine tasting room where it's all, you know, he's putting on the jackets, white linen tablecloth, and it's all about the service of it and telling the story, and so yeah, I love the dynamics of that whole thing.
So that stayed with you? Is that?
Yeah, that's what really resonated with me. And so just as soon as I got back to the States after that trip, I started doing my research on Google, back at my parents' house in Boston, because I'm from the East Coast originally. You know, they weren't winos or anything. This was just kind of a, you know, random trip for them.
Yeah.
And you know, after that, they definitely became winos. And yeah, just doing my research, like wine in the United States, and obviously Napa Valley pops up on the map.
Sure.
So quickly did my research, booked a reservation to stay at the Beasley House on First Street.
It's right around the corner from where I live. I know exactly where it is.
Yeah, right. Yeah, like the oldest bed and breakfast in Napa.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the Jim and Carol Beasley, they felt like my grandparents.
Yeah.
Because I grew up like mostly with my grandparents, and they felt like exactly like my grandparents. And I told them my whole story, and they're like, "Oh my God, like so awesome you're here." So yeah, I was like, "Yeah, I'm gonna go check out the Napa Valley College classes and see what they're all about, because they have a wine chemistry program over there."
Right. So you just from from
just flew up.
19 in the vineyard for the first time to 24. That's a short period of time.
Yeah,
You've
definitely.
really-
Yeah,
and you've
but
already
working
launched
around.
a business.
Yep, I'm working around the clock.
So you came out and did the Napa Valley College program.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the enology program,
Mhm.
enology and viticulture. Specialize more on the enology side of it, and taking night classes for that, and during the day working for other wineries,
Oh,
like
so-
in
so
the cellar
So you
for
went,
other
yeah.
winemakers.
So you
like
became a
winemakers.
cellar rat.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Okay.
Yeah, Jessup Cellars, Round Pond Estates, and Raymond Vineyards.
Great. So how did you then decide this is going to be my business? I mean, a lot of people your age would have probably said, well, I'll work another 10 years for somebody else. And now you've launched your own brand.
Yeah, I mean, it was just naive college kid comes into a winery and starts trying to learn it all, and there's ways like questioning, like, wait, what is that? What's that? Like, I think I could do a better version of this.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I mean, I've always considered myself a team leader, and I knew that's what it was all about, to drive a company. So, but yeah, for, the rosé, it organically came together. First winery I worked for, I was just a cellar rat picking out all the mog, the material other than grape, on the sorting line, and seeing all this juice running down the table. It's all the kind of the squashed juice that's at the bottom of the bin.
Right.
And saw a ton of it dripping off the line. So one day I just put a bucket under there and quickly found out that it filled up right to the top. So started getting larger and larger buckets until I had a 60-gallon drum. And by the end of an 8-hour shift, that whole thing was full. So I just asked the winemaker, so what do I do with this stuff? It's pink juice. What can I do with it? And he's just just dump that down the drain. That's just Saunier. And I was just can I keep it? Can I try it? So he's yeah, whatever you do with it. I told you to dump it down the drain. So I was yeah, all right, cool. I'm gonna try this out. So, and then to Napa Valley College classes, I brought it in, and what is this? What's going on here? They're yeah, that's kind of how you make rosé. It's light skin extraction, red grapes.
So just as if you were bleeding it off.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, that's the French method that you're referring to, called
Yeah,
Saunier.
Saunier. Saunier translates from French to mean bleed. So you're bleeding off the grapes.
And
the
normally,
juice from the grapes.
just in case people don't know, normally you would, a winemaker would do that in order to intensify what's in the in the vat already, in the barrel or wherever.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
You know your stuff.
So why not? How did you decide that you were going to launch a wine brand? I mean,
well, just looking more and more into it, each year, trying to do a different rosé, and it keep getting better and better. I mean, I remember living in Yountville specifically, and had a bottle of the 2009 or 2010, and it just popped in the cork and exploded. And then taken the next year, and it just popped out. Wow, that was an improvement. And then we had our next vintage. It was wow, this is really good. So.
But you're not just taking the juice that's running out
No,
of
we're saying no way, Saunier. Yeah, that's kind of our whole spiel. We saw how gross it was and how awful it really tastes. Just to get this juice that isn't grown to be rosé. So what you have to do in turn is add some water it back, because the alcohol is going to be a lot higher for a red wine.
Right.
So you're diluting the wine and then adding artificial acidity to it, so it's going to be naturally unbalanced. So we're just kind of turning it around and saying we're growing the grapes with the intention of being rosé, and that's how the French really believe it too. They dedicate their entire vineyard to it. That's a rosé.
Well, I know in France, there's certain grape varieties that are used in the south of France, especially in Provence. And in Navarra, in Spain, it's Garnacha and a couple of other varieties. Do you specifically want one grape variety for what you do?
Yeah, so we're kind of going with the whole story and the perception that the best rosés are coming from France, and then dividing that between south and north, and then saying, yeah, we're doing a southern French style our very first year, Rhone, a lot of Syrah, Grenache, Mourvèdre. So we did Syrah, Grenache that first year, which,
so
that's our very first year.
All right.
So that was a lot of fun.
So this is Syrah, Grenache, and
No, no
oh,
Mourvedre, just Syrah and Grenache.
okay.
That's all I really had access to that year.
And so you contract with a grower or two?
Yeah,
Is that-
exactly.
okay.
So yeah, just getting enough buddies in the industry just to ask enough questions. That's how it really came together. Knowing people who to go to in order to ask a fruit question, or who to ask about a chemistry question. I mean, the Napa Valley College definitely opened a lot of doors like that.
So you put together a business plan with the help of some of your people at the college and friends?
No, like we did one together as a team. I don't even remember what it was called, but this was a private one because team projects, like one person does all the work and that it's whatever. So I did this solo for my last project at Paul Wagner's class. He's the wine marketing professor over there.
Right. So this project is you. It's not.
Yep. Yeah,
it's not a bunch of people.
No, it's a one-man band.
You don't have a bunch of investors from New York City reading down.
Well, it's kind of an interesting situation. I have the first year, this one, just had like a family member help be the angel investor for it. Not expecting any return on it, but just good faith. Like,
sure.
Here's $30,000 to start your project, because in my business plan, it was a project just to do kind of like research and development. Like what I told you about those 3 vintages that all like kind of exploded. Like we actually wanted to do something like serious now.
Right. So this is 2011. 11. Okay. And then
very first year.
And I don't want to jump ahead in your story, but that's what we are now.
Yeah. Then just continuing on that story about French inspired. We're doing Pinot Noir Rosé, done in carbonic maceration style. So kind of that Beaujolais Nouveau.
Can you explain that process a little bit, just for the
carbonic maceration? That's a fermentation that happens inside the skin. So you can destem it, but that can sometimes mash up your fruit. But it's typically just grapes taken and thrown into a container, and then sealed off from oxygen, typically sparged with even more CO2, and then it's the pressure of the gas is going to start to create the yeast to go like looking elsewhere. So it really starts to build this unique like cotton candy fruity tootiness to it.
Gives it a real fruity, fruit-forward flavors.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, right.
Bubble gum or something wild. It's
strawberry bubble gum.
Depending on what happens, yeah.
And so, is this now your direction?
Well, yeah, we're just continuing with a story, because what's in the bottle is a bottled story. So we're continuing with our story, DEFiNE Wines. So Southern French, Northern French. And then our third vintage is Merlot, Rosé Merlot. So we're going with French-inspired, California innovated. And I think Merlot is a good kind of statement to make that with.
Okay.
Merlot kind of, to me, is like all-American baseball kid, like kind of go-to grape.
So when you say define, you are defining a wine for each vintage?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. We're kind of an innovation brand.
What kind of production will you have? I mean, do you set a goal to begin with?
We're always looking to get bigger.
No, but I mean, do you say I'm going to have 2,000 cases this vintage and double that the next, or how do you...
We've just been kind of going organically. How it happens. Every year we've been really fundraising right down to the last minute, and then we're like, oh my God, like 2013 almost slipped by us. We're like, yeah, we're not doing a vintage this year. And then before you know it, next week we had money in the bank, and we're like, all right, cool, we'll go buy grapes right now. And they're sitting there on the crush pad, like, do you want them or not? Like, yep, that's what we want.
So you have found fruit. There hasn't been a problem.
No, yeah, we haven't. It's just been the financials fundraising each year, because we always have to. This is one angel investor. This is a second. This one's a third. So just like kind of like what their Naked Wines model is in some sense.
Sure. So what kind of production have you had these two?
Small, 6 barrels at most.
Okay. Which gives you about how many cases?
150 or less. Very small, boutique. at its finest.
So are you able to sell it? You know, do you sell it on the website and in restaurants, or what's
Yep.
your
Yeah, a little bit of everything.
where
Family, friends, restaurants, hotels.
out of the area or just in Napa?
No, mostly just Napa Valley and San Francisco for accounts, and then
Where can people get it in Napa?
1313
Oh,
on
so-
Dawes Hotel, Bartisono, V Wine Cellars.
Okay.
We're hoping to close with Soul Bar up at Calistoga. They do wine on tap, and that's our third vintage is wine on tap.
Oh, really? No bottles, huh?
No, we're gearing all towards wine on tap because that's the future.
You think?
Yeah, I definitely believe so.
Why do you think that?
Instead of like just recycling, we're reusing with the stainless steel, so it's I think even more progressive on the approach to more eco-friendly.
Ah, so that's
Yeah, it reduces the
that's
carbon footprint in a sense. If we can
Sure.
build something that actually is built to last, and then just wash it out, sanitize it, and refill it. And if the
Will
logistics are right, like it could be very light.
will DEFINING branch out into maybe a red or a white product?
We specialize in rosé at the moment.
Okay.
Yeah, I can't really tell.
So how do your friends? I mean, you know, from college years to present, new friends in the valley. How do they react to this?
Oh, it's been awesome. Like, yeah, I've had a lot of friends and family before I started this, so they're like my biggest cheerleaders now. And I don't forget where I came from, so I'm always like, you know, I love them so much. But yeah, they've been super supportive, and they all like are always shooting me like marketing ideas and whatnot. And one of my buddies actually from college in Colorado, he moved out here to help build DEFiNING. And that says something that people are that committed. I told him,
Sure.
yeah, get $5,000 together, and that'll buy you a couple months head time where you can just like couch surf or figure your stuff out. Like that's basically
Sure.
what I did.
Yeah.
So yeah, people are attracted to it. They're talking